Morning, everyone. Well, thanks to Anne and the standard presentation. My name is Florian, I'm from Invidis Consulting, and I want to talk a little bit about the future of digital signage. And to be honest, I've worked for 10 years on standards myself. It's the most painful work I've ever done in my life, but it's very, very useful for the industry. You don't get a prize for that, and you've spent hours and hours on this one. And so, kudos to Adidas doing this. I've done it for 10 years. I'm glad I don't have to do it anymore, but I know how important they are. And we all know, and Adidas is really working really hard on this one, getting international standards. We know that's very, very difficult, but Adidas is aware of that, and all the associations are aware of that. That cultures are different, business concepts are different, and we are based in Munich, Germany, and we are part of the bigger Adidas family. And we work very close with these guys. We know how difficult it is, but we try to adapt them to local needs. And there are certain things you cannot standardize, like content, for example. Yes, you can talk about resolution, you can talk about different things, but at the end of the day, about the graphics itself, about the storytelling or so, that's something which is very, very difficult to standardize. So you always will have challenges. But the next half hour, I want to talk a little bit about the future of digital signage. Maybe few of us know us already. Invidis Consulting, we're a digital signage consultancy based in Munich, Germany. We are organizing conferences. Yesterday we had our big conference here, the DSS ISE. We do this in Europe and in Munich and many other places around the world. Most of the time as part of the bigger Adidas family. And today I brought you some slides, some ideas. And even Jose is here. Wow, welcome. I brought you some ideas and some strategies and some concepts about the future of digital signage. Can you wait that? Oh, good, fantastic. Good, that's about us. We are Munich-based, founded 2006. We are a digital signage consultancy, a team of 10 consultants plus lots of freelancers based in Dubai and some other places around the world. And we help end users as well as the industry to better understand digital signage, to create digital strategies. Not only limited to digital signage, because digital signage is not a silo anymore. So really look at it from a helicopter view on things and really try to find the right things to create digital experiences in physical spaces. We also have a guidebook you can download for free. So if you're interested in this one, I think this presentation is also available as a YouTube, so you can also see the download link down there to download the book. So where are we today? To be honest, we cannot talk about digital signage. We cannot be here at ISE and not talking about coronavirus. Unfortunately, I'm glad you all made it here, and the guys who are at home and watching this now, you missed a lot, because all of us, took long flight. Took me 25 hours to get from Munich to Amsterdam. It's usually an hour flight, so it was quite tough. But the spirit is fantastic here in Amsterdam. You talk with people, and you really see, how much power and how much potential digital signage in general has. So yes, this year is a little bit more difficult, especially with coronavirus. We don't know what the impact is. There will be an impact, no question about it. Not only for this show or Barcelona, the poor guys at World Mobile Congress. They just canceled the show yesterday. But it's really about also hardware, availability of hardware. We will see an impact down the year, absolutely, and especially the LED guys, the LED industry. LED is booming. You see this. You see micro LED. You see all of these different technologies here on the show floor. And these guys are having a really hard time because 90% of LED is produced in China, and 40% of the global LED production is sold in China. So these guys really have some challenges. Talking about micro LED, we believe that's one of the most important trends for various reasons. We will see, or not we, but many researchers see a broad adoption of micro LED in 2024, so it's only 4 more years to go. Micro LED is still roughly 100 times more expensive than LCD. Yes, that's a lot. But when you go to Samsung, when you go to all these booths around here, and you see micro LED, 0.8, even 0.6 mil, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's still very expensive, but this will change in the future. And Samsung presented this year at ISE already their future micro LED, which is a 1.2 and 1.6 mil. So they also go now, in cheaper productions and cheaper categories. So micro LED will be the media of the future. LCD is limited to 120 inch. Well, you can produce larger ones, but you don't get them through the door. So logistics is more or less the hinder there. With micro LED, as it's just cabinets, you can build it as large as possible, in theory at least. And costs will come down for various reasons, for technology reasons, but most important, because micro LED is the new backlight technology of the future. Currently, you have standard LED for LCDs as a backlight, and in the future, this will be replaced by micro LED. So you can imagine millions and millions of LCD being sold every year, and in the future, in the short future, in 1-2 years, they will all have micro LED backlights. That means there will be scale in the micro LED production, and so the price will come down considerably. But today, 50,000 per square meters, sometimes 60, 70,000 per square meters, it's a lot. Not many people can afford that. OLED. Unfortunately, LG is not here, and I prepared the slide already before we know that. OLED is a challenge. And this is not a secret because LG started speaking publicly about that. So the OLED technology looks fantastic. It's very, very sexy. I mean, you've seen all these booths here, you've seen it in Infocom at CES, so it's really, really cool. But they have some challenges with the production. It's not the product itself, but the production. It's very costly. The product has a shorter lifespan than a standard LCD, and the higher burn-in rate. So LG currently is really looking, what is the future? We believe they will continue doing OLED, but there's a reason why most competitors decided not to continue with any OLED or didn't even start it at all. So we still believe OLED, there's a market for them, but LG also is looking at, using standard LCD with micro LED backlight in the future, and also for larger canvases, digital canvases using LED. So what's really important, when we talk about digital signage, in the past we talked about siloing. There was a CNS system, you could use it really easily, and it worked perfectly fine. But unfortunately, that's not the world out there anymore. We have a large Fortune 500 customer. They have 54 different CNS systems in the network. 54. But it wasn't planned like this. There was something in North America, then they started something there. They acquired the company, and within a few years, we have 54 different CNS systems for digital signage alone. We helped them, and they had a few hundred when you include mobile and everything else or so. So we helped them to reduce this to 3. So we even couldn't make it to 1 because it's very challenging. Maybe there will be systems in the future, but currently it's not possible. So we believe the way digital signage is seen out of society, this will change. We need to have a more broader look on this one. And I brought this little evolution chart to show you, how the digital signage world is evolving. So we all started with digital poster. This is still 80% of the market, and it's not a bad business, It's just standard. It's low margin, but high volume. So this is standard digital signage. You see them in supermarkets, you see them in bus stops and all this stuff, It's very simple, basically no data driven, but it just works. It's plain and simple, but margins are not quite low. And this has evolved to real digital signage. For a few years already, you see big digital signage vendors, the CNS vendors, they're offering data-driven software, data-driven platforms, which are really, you can do much more with it. They're more interactive, and they adapt to the audience and everything, so that's really, really true. The next step are digital signage experience platforms. And when you talk to customers, they all want digital experience. They have no clue what it really is, but it sounds cool. So it's really important, to understand what digital experience means. And we have a few vendors who really manage to improve their software, and especially on the data side. And it's not only having an API to connect to a back-end system and get this data and show it on the screen, but it's also to playing this data back to the system. That's relevant. That's the difference of standard digital signage and digital experience platform, being it a digital signage experience platform or a full-blown digital experience platform. You need to get data and feed it back and really get this information. So this is something where the digital signage experience platforms are coming up. And then we have these big guys, these really big names like Adobe, like Salesforce, like SAP, all of these guys offering digital experience platform. But to be honest, this is a totally different animal. Just the consultants get $1 million for that. And whoever has done like an SAP introduction or so, no, that's really, really important. It's really expensive. But big Fortune 500 companies are looking at this stuff. And what's the biggest difference? Digital signage is not in focus, but the customer is in focus. The data is in focus. So they get the data, and all the content, everything is produced on the fly, like it's done already in online and digital nowadays. You don't have an agency creating a film with all writing and everything on it. But you have separate a film, and everything, the message is done automatically, programmatically, on the fly, differently to every screen, to every touch point or so. And this is where digital signage and digital experience come together. A few of the CMS vendors will be able to offer DSXPs. None of them will get really a DXP vendor because that's $1 billion guys. But they're coming, and it's not only even Microsoft Teams is looking into the signage space. Nothing else that you see. What does it have to do with digital signage? they want to do digital signage on campus because that's where they're good at, you know? All the data is anyway on the servers. All their customers use Office 365, so Teams is already included. They use it every day, 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day. So it's very simple to use the system, also to show way guiding, to do room signage and everything. So you see some really big guys coming. But there's still a lot of opportunities for you, for the digital signage industry, to really, you know, find your niche and offer products. Platforms. It's not only digital signage, it's the whole IT world out there. We're totally platform driven. And DXP is the best example for that. These are platforms. So we're not talking about a software stack anymore. We're really talking about the full solution. Can you offer it by yourself? Most likely not. Only the big guys can do it. But you can build an ecosystem. And your customers are thinking of platforms and they understand platforms. So whenever you talk with them, whenever you convince them, you know, try to talk with them and explain them, you know, what your platform offering is and what your part is and what will be delivered by your partners. It's really important. So the industry is moving from visual solutions to platforms, I mentioned, and in various things. A couple of years ago, we talked about just resolution. We talked about, you know, size and everything. That's not that important anymore. More or less the stuff, you know, has become commodity. Not in the LED business, but in the LCD business. Even with the big guys, you don't see, you know, big screens anymore. You know, yes, they have 98-inch or so, and looks good. They have even 8K. But to be honest, who needs 8K? There are only 2 or 3 use cases: command and control rooms and medical healthcare, where it currently makes sense. The digital signage 8K, forget about it. It's not necessary. And they offer it because they can, because they use it, you know, for consumer TVs, that's fine, but for digital signage, there's not really need for it. So, but talking about platforms, and we have 2 guys, 2 typical visual companies who started already offering platforms. And you would be surprised by some of the stuff they're doing. NEC, for example. I'm sure you all know NEC for the projectors and for the displays and LED recently. They have a full analytics platform now. It's called NECL. And it adds up to a full platform for retailers, and it really targets the needs of the retailer. And you can really see what they offer. It's not only ALP, which is an analytic platform, and the Leaf engine, which connects various sensors, and then more or less like a middleware, but they also have as they are part of the bigger NEC group, they have all these solutions which are really targeted at retail, for example. So you have everything from object recognition all the way to customer loyalty redemption. And this is what we talk about, the platform offering. So it's not just the visual part, but the whole part of collecting data, analyzing data, and using this data to show images or messages on screens or mobile phones or whatever you use. A little bit different approach, Samsung. Samsung, obviously, they're very big, you know, they're market leader in the world with signage. They're quite big, they have their SoC, their Tizen operating system, but much more. They have Magic Info, they have their own CMS system. And to be honest, it's not that bad. Everyone laughed about it when they started it a few years ago, but it's pretty good nowadays. And most vendors hate that, but unfortunately that's the case. But they added more stuff to it. So they added a security platform, which is called Knox, to it. They added, you know, other things to it, so it's really becoming more and more interesting. So it's an analytics, it's a security, it's an operating system. So you see, these guys are really working on platforms. And you need to understand, you need to probably choose one of your prime vendors, you know, to which platform you can support, or which platform you will feel comfortable with selling to your customers. The big boys are coming. I talked already about them, about Adobe Experience Manager. They relaunched Screens. We all laughed about Screens when they launched it a couple of years ago. It was pretty bad software, to be honest. But when you look at the whole offering, it's like similar like Cisco. When Cisco came into the signage market, we said, no, it's not working. It only worked for a few customers who have already 80% of Cisco, was fine. The same with Adobe currently. All the Fortune 500 companies work more or less with Adobe. So they have already, you know, huge Adobe platforms integrated. And then just adding this little piece of scheduling software, which does a digital signage job, makes sense for these guys. If you haven't started digital signage, don't start with Adobe, obviously, you know, it's way overkill, but it has a good offering, no question about it, for certain customer bases. Same with SAP, Salesforce. Everyone knows Salesforce as a CRM company, but they're offering much, much more. They have social media, everything, you can manage stuff, and you can also do digital signage in the future, as well as Microsoft Teams, I mentioned it before. So, another trend, green signage. We're in Europe, and to be honest, I'm in the business since 2006, and we have never seen a trend like this skyrocketing through the roof like in the past 6 months, the topic of green signage. We have customers all over Europe, and yes, currently it's a European thing, but it's also coming to the US, approaching us and say, our CEO, tells the world out there, tells the press, we need to be more sustainable, we need to follow UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, we sign up to that. So what does it mean on a daily basis? And then they go down to the IT department, they go down to the retail, to the architects, saying, how much energy do we use? And that's a pretty bad question, because most of the integrators, most of the industry currently don't have an answer to that. Yes, we know there's power consumption. Digital signage won't be green. And there's no way of doing greenwashing. That's absolutely the wrong way. Let's be open with it. But there are many ways of improving your current digital signage product. Nice example, for example, is it comes from the US, is Cooler Screen, and Microsoft invested into them. It's started and it's driven by digital out of home, so you can show advertisement on screens which are built in the refrigerator. You've seen this for many years. But the biggest benefit for these guys is that the doors remain longer closed. So there's less energy for the supermarket. And when you look at the energy consumption of the supermarket, of groceries, 80% of that is refrigeration. It's unbelievable how much energy this costs. So the longer the refrigerators are closed, the better for the supermarket. And what's most interesting with all of the green signage stuff, it's not necessarily driven by customers, but in Europe, for example, it's mostly driven by employees. So the staff itself is coming to the boss and saying, we're talking about green all the time. I exchanged my combustible engine with electric car. Why don't we do anything in our office? So we see the big guys coming. Really, really big European companies saying, we need to do more. And it impairs the brand if you don't do anything. And again, it's not about greenwashing. It's about really changing things. Many brands, as I mentioned before, are really aligned with the Paris Agreement and need to. So what are some small steps you can do? And these are just some small examples. Many of you have installed high brightness screens in shop windows. And they have this little brightness sensor. And the majority, more than 80% we found out, are disabled for one reason, because brands want their red, as red as possible. And when you turn on the brightness sensor, then obviously the colors and the brightness is changing, and then the red isn't 100% anymore. But this was acceptable 1 or 2 years ago. This has changed in the past 6 months. So we see more and more clients say, why did we ever turn them off? Who decided that? Most integrators say, you decided, here, I got it written on this one, please change it. And obviously that's a quite easy thing because you can change it remotely. So start with looking at your sensors. Are they activated? Can you really work on this one? The second one is more energy efficient infrastructure. It's all about your PC, it's about your network, all of this stuff, Look at it, measure, how much power consumption you have, and there are many ways of using, smarter devices with less energy consumption. Adopting content. Yes, content plays a big role in power consumption. If you have really fast-moving content, especially with LED, if it's really bright, it makes a huge difference. It takes up much, much more power than standard content, more black one, which is a little bit more mellow or so. Talk with your clients, talk with your brand departments, explain them why you want to change certain things, and you can see huge effects there. And improve operating times. In the past, it was en vogue to have your signage running in the shop window 24/7 because the brand wants to say we're always open, even our stores closed, you can go online and buy something. This has changed. Perception, mindset in the society has changed. We have customers who get complaints from consumers who say, why are your screens running at midnight when your shop is closed? Please change that. And we see this stuff happening. So just use common sense, talk with your customers, talk with your marketing departments, and look at these small things. There are many other things we can change, and we're currently working on this one together, again, as an initiative with Avixa and many other ones, and it's open to everyone. So we're currently preparing a white book where we really, list up all these things, how you can save energy. It will be free, so no charge to it. It's just a service to the industry, and we will have a big launch of this one at our conference in July 1st and 2nd in Munich. So there will be a big workshop with this stuff. So please join us if you want to. It's really, really important. So I want to show the future of digital signage, and I brought you already current projects which we believe are already a good step of the future. So I know you all travel a lot, so I brought you a few examples, and if you want more information, please contact me afterwards. We have big reports of all of them. I visited all of them, so I can give you some insights. So on the top, it's the Adidas flagship store in London. is just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It opened a few months ago, has 110 different digital touch points. Everything runs on green energy. Well, it's also an issue, as you can imagine. And it's very, very adaptive. So you can play around. There's an LED floor, and within hours, you know, the whole thing changes from a gaming environment to a promotion thing, and it's very flexible. And that's so important because your customers spend millions and millions in having flexible architecture, flexible furniture in their stores. And then at the end, some integrator comes, let's put a screen there with some space there. There are two problems. Usually the screen is not there where it has the greatest impact because it was planned too late. And secondly, the store loses all the flexibility because it's mounted to the wall. So make sure you're flexible systems. And this is what Adidas has done perfectly well. They have a ceiling system so you can move the screens, everything back and forth. It's really, really smart. Another one, if you go to Panama, I know it's far away, but there's a fantastic museum. It's a biomuseum in Panama City. And it's really, really cool. Lots of projection. It's really great because it really shows what you can do with projection. And to be honest, projection is coming back again. You know, when you look at the numbers, projector sales are going down. In meeting rooms, it's pretty difficult business for them. But ultra short throw projectors in museums, in retail environments are really, really coming back because it's the most affordable and the most surprising way of showing images in a physical room. Because you can turn them off and you're not missing anything. You don't have a black screen. And that makes it really, really interesting. So have a look at this one. Then the other one is Cancun duty free. It's amazing. Everything is LED. You get in there and from a moment to another, you know, everything is branded with one brand. I mean, we have talked about this for years, but not many have really done it. So that's a really nice thing. Then that's another one that's 11 team sports. It's a football store, so you can create your own jersey in Berlin. Then we have Moscow Airport. Fantastic, the new airport, the new Terminal 2 in Moscow. It's really amazing. It's all of LD from LG. And the whole terminal is like a digital canvas. And they don't only use it for advertisement, but really for cultural things, you know, great movies from the Siberia and everything. So you stand there, it's like, wow, for the first time, it's really enjoyable to be in an airport. So I can really recommend that. If you go to Istanbul, they just opened a new airport, amazing one in April. It's really, really cool. And they use LED on corners around the whole thing. So it's probably the airport with the most LED currently. And it's quite amazing because it's round, you know, it's part of the architecture. It doesn't feel like, oh, you just put a digital somewhere at the end of the thing. It's really thought of from the beginning. And then a nice small example, that's Toulouse Airport. That's a lounge in Toulouse Airport. And they decided, you know, we put LED around it and we just show local architecture. So you go there and people stand there, take selfies of themselves, you know, in front of the thing, and they can see the local architecture. Because Toulouse said, you know, all airports look alike once you're airside, and we want to have a local touch to it. So they use digital to, you know, tell local stories, which is quite nice. Then a really nice example. This is in Dubai, Dubai Mall, and quite interesting because Emaar, which is a big property developer, they selling apartments before they're being built. And in the past, they used goggles, augmented reality goggles. I thought it's perfect. You put them on, you know, you can experience a new apartment, and once you take them off, you sign, and that's it. It didn't work for various reasons. Because the sales process is totally interrupted when you take off the goggles. So you have to start all over again. So it didn't work for them. And secondly, usually when you buy an apartment, it's not only one person, but the whole group, the whole family deciding on what fits what they want. So there wasn't really this team experience. Even you can connect a few of these AR goggles, but the real experience wasn't there. So they decided, let's go physical. And they created this LED thing. It's a LED floor, it's a LED ring, 3 meters high, and you can walk in there with an iPad and you can really, you know, choose your flooring, you can choose your apartment with your view, everything, you have sound and everything, and it works fantastically well for them because the whole family can choose what they want, and it's this physical experience, which is much better. So digital signage really makes sense and has big advantages compared to AR, for example. And then coming down here, this is probably one of the best stores currently available. That's in Hamburg from Bon Prix, and it's an adaptive store. So really, it's very different. You have single item presentation, so every product is there only once in one size and one color, and you can choose whatever you want with your mobile phone, with your app, and then your private fitting room
will be reserved, and within 5 minutes, everything you ordered on your phone will be there. And your private has your name on it. You go inside, you can try everything on. If it doesn't fit, you have a small touch screen, and then there's a double door cabinet, and there's the storage right behind it. So you get everything within minutes. You get the right color, the right thing, and then you can try it on. You can like it, obviously, buy it immediately, and it works very well. And that's so important because the fitting room is where fashion retail, has the biggest advantage compared to online. Shopping on Amazon is very convenient. Does it create any emotions? No. Well, or maybe on your credit card, but that's the only emotion you get. But when you're in a fitting room, 70-80% of the people decide, they put something on, they decide if they want to buy it or not. And that's where the fitting room is, in the past was always somewhere in the back, bad lighting. Today has fantastic lighting, lots of touch screens, and it's really becoming the center of the store. Quite interesting for digital signage. That's a museum in Estonia, which is feels like the end of the world, close to the Russian border, and it's really interesting because it uses a lot of electronic shelf labels and e-paper. More than 700 e-paper displays, and it's quite interesting. You get a little card, and it always, changes the language to your language, to Russian, to German, whatever you want, and it works very well. Really nice design. And then all the way to New York, some things. If you go to Soho or so, it's amazing. My favorite shoe store. And I'm a guy, I'm usually not buying there, but it's fantastic. It's right in Soho. So these are just some ideas. So the future of digital signage is not in 23, 24, 25, but you see guys doing already. Is it perfect? No. We haven't seen a single perfect project, but it's something, which works already, which is engaging, and which really delivers experiences. And that's something where physical retail, where physical stores have the greatest advantage versus online. It's not either or, but it's always a combination of everything. So my time is off. Thank you for joining us this morning. And if you have any more questions, I'm here for answer questions. And you can check us out, join us at conferences. We're at Infocom. We're at all these places, Infocom Brazil, Mexico, in the US and Vegas. So we're happy to show you more of the industry. Thank you.